Also, you can probably hear the nature sounds behind, so do apologise. That'll do, don't care. That'll do. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be answering the question, should you read the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas? Just a disclaimer, you should definitely read the trigger warnings before even considering reading this series. So first we're going to talk a little bit about my opinions on the books, and then at the end we'll answer the final question of whether I think you should read them or not. So stay tuned for that. This is what I thought about each book in one sentence, or rather a collection of words. What on earth is going on? Wet wipey male, 0 to 100 vibes, most Wattpad-esque. Liked the characters more, there was still something missing. Female character was great. Make sure you read the trigger warnings. Disappointed, I thought this was gonna be my favorite character, favorite book out of the whole series. It wasn't. Super dark. Definitely read all of the trigger warnings before. What a waste of time. It literally added one tiny little plot point, and to be honest, that was hinted at during the books anyway. It was not worth it. This is my favourite book by far out of the entire series. All the major plot points came together. Will was an amazing character. But again, please read the trigger warnings. Now, disclaimer, I actually didn't read Fire Night. I've moved on to my next series, A Court of Thorn and Roses. You already know it. Make sure you come back because I will be documenting my journey as I read those books. I'm going to do a little bit of a debrief after each one that I read. So because I've moved on, I couldn't bring myself to read Fire Night. I think I will probably go back to read it just to say I've completed it.
Nice.
I can't see anything great happening in the nicest way possible. Here are my thoughts on each of the main male characters. So Michael, he was definitely better in other people's books than his own, except for Kai's. He was arguably at his most annoying. He very much gives me the most devoted vibe. I feel like he's the OG devotee, kind of. I'm a poet, I didn't know it. He's a major athlete star, he's a basketball player, but I don't understand how he has time to do that and everything else. So make it make sense. That's what I'm gonna say. Kai, he has great morals, except for the first book, and there are definitely some great areas in there, but for the most part, he's the one that holds himself in high stead. He is quite a likable character, which is great, and definitely has his head screwed on compared to some of the other horsemen. He doesn't ever particularly seem weak. Damon, he's wild, feral, hard to tame, the whole shebang. But we kind of learn that bad things happen to him. Obviously, it's not a justification for the things that he does, but it definitely adds more complexity and depth to the character. I like him a lot more in the last two books. Even though I was disappointed by his book, he was obviously much better than in the first two. That being said, the third book, the reason it was disappointing was because I really enjoyed the first half, and then the second half was just like wet wipey. And for me, I thought the one character that never would become wet wipey would be Damon, so I feel like it didn't really work, but that's okay. It's not for everyone. Everyone has different opinions, so maybe you will like it. Damon definitely has a lot of character growth and development, and I think that's really cool, so I do like that. Will, definitely my favourite. He's always looking for advice. He's actually been in love with his love interest for the longest time, but he's been rejected, and there's a whole like battle going on in his head. It's a very intense book, and there's lots of major plot points that come together that have been working up throughout the series. So I think that probably worked in his favour as to why it then became my favourite book of the series. It was really nice to see Will grow, and I felt like you really appreciated that as the reader. Let's talk about the female characters. Now, they're going to be slightly shorter because for the most part, it annoys me when authors write women in certain ways, but it's okay. First of all, Erica, because I really don't like calling her Rika. I don't mind nicknames, I just don't like cringy ones, and especially the fact that it's only one letter less than her name. It just doesn't really feel like a point, it feels cringy. Banks is my favourite character. She was great, sort of straight to the point, hard nut to crack kind of vibe. She's like the boss woman, makes decisions, gets things done. Erica's kind of like this as well. Give her a due, she does get better throughout the books. Winter is a really cool character, and I think it's really impressive how she kind of navigates their world, because their world is so intense and it's a lot, and I think that it was really impressive. So I think she did that really well, so I'll give her... Emery is definitely a complex character, but I do like her growth throughout her book. I feel like they could have been some bits better written, but for the most part she was decent. And then finally, Alex. Alex is awesome. She's amazing. She's fantastic. I like how she kind of starts as a side character, but towards the end of the first book becomes more of a main character and then continues to be a main character throughout. And I feel like she brings the balance, and I really like that. Let's talk ratings. So for Corrupt, I gave it 2 stars, which is a 4 out of 10 for me. It had great moments in there, but predominantly it was the Wattpad-esque-ness for me. Hideaway, I gave 3 stars. I gave 5.5 out of 10. It was good. It was okay. Average, mid. Kill Switch, I gave 2.5 stars. I gave it 5 out of 10, bang smack in the middle. It could have been a lot better, and I was prepared to give this book like 7, 8, but unfortunately it did not stick it for me. Nightfall, I rated the highest out of all of the Devil Knight series, 3 stars, 6 out of 10. I did this mainly because I liked all of the plot points together, and I think it was the best one. Conclave, we don't even need to talk about. 2 out of 10 maximum. Literally only for the first part to do with Damon. The ultimate question, would I recommend this series? Yes, I would recommend this series if you have time to read it. However, I wouldn't rush to make time. Definitely if there's something else you wanted to read first, I would go with that. The end of the first book is kind of the moment where you can go, I'm not gonna read anymore, because once you get into the second book, you feel obliged to read all of the stories. So even though they do get better, and I can say stick with it and they will get better, if you haven't really got the motivation to read it, it's not gonna work. You need to be in the right frame of mind, and you need to be prepared to read it.
Okay.
It makes it a little bit trickier to then recommend it, because I feel like not everybody I know or not everybody watching this video would like this kind of genre. For example, if you like dark romance, you like erotica, you
Naughty, naughty, you teasing me, you naughty, naughty.
You like books that have dark themes in them, then this is definitely a series to consider reading, because it's seen as quite a classic in this genre. Also, I know Penelope Douglas has lots of other books as well, so maybe if you don't want to start with this series, you could start with one of her other books. I just would say, I have to warn you, that this book definitely feels more like a guilty pleasure read. Rather than something groundbreaking, new, it very much feels like you read it and sometimes you're cringing and sometimes you're It's never one of those moments where you're like, whoa, I can't believe it. It's not the best thing I've ever read. However, this is just the humble gal's opinion, so if you do give it a go, let me know. I'm definitely open to having my mind changed, and I would love to discuss your thoughts. So, if you do read it, let me know. Comment down below, we can have a nice chat, have a nice discussion. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and maybe it inspired you to read this series if you'd been thinking about it, you know, tinkering back and forth. And if you weren't too sure, maybe this confirmed as to whether or not it would be interesting for you. Remember to come back and stay tuned for the A Court of Thorn and Roses journey. You know it's gonna be a great time, a wild time. Let me know if you like these kind of videos or any other kind of videos you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching again. Bye! Alright, let's go back to reading A Court of Thorn and Roses.